And we're back, guys. Welcome to Tennis in a Minute. I'm your host, Good Energy. Now, I want to discuss a match I was watching earlier with Emiliana Arango. Now, she was taking on Colmega, who is a clay veteran. Now, Emiliana, she's from Colombia. And I was talking earlier about Camila Osorio, who is just a tough Colombian player, former top ranked junior. And she's just so tough. Now, Emiliana is super duper tough. Now, she takes a nasty spill here. Now, this is a Colombian tournament. This is a 125K. And of course, the crowd is just overwhelmingly cheering for her. Now, taking on Cole Mega, who is a experienced clay veteran with nearly triple the clay experience, but Emiliana Arango is just super duper tough. Now, she's leading this match here. She's up a set, and she was going to return a baseline shot here, and she fell very, very hard. And she was down for about she was down for about 35 to 40 minutes. And to be honest with you, they probably should have called this match because the injury timeout was just super duper long. But this is how tough Arango is. She got wrapped up after about 35 minutes. She resumed the match. Now, Colmega would break her and had a chance to serve it out. Emiliana would break back and she would break back, hold, and end this match after getting wrapped up in what was deemed to be, in my opinion, a very serious injury. She was literally down on the clay for about 10 to 15 minutes and didn't even move. Okay, she got help to the bench. They called the physio, and again, another 20, 25 minutes just wrapping her up. And she came out and finished this match. Now, me personally, I can recall tearing my Achilles in a game. And look, super duper tough. I wanted to finish the game. So I like tough players. I like the Camila Osorios of the world. I like Arango. I like the Leila Fernandez. I like the Alicia Parks. I like the Ostapenkos, the Sabalenkas, the Sacharies. I like the tough players, right? Now, the reason why I'm making this video here, I would have made it earlier, but I had a few things to do, is because I talk a lot on the channel about the injury timeouts, right? And how a lot of players, in my opinion, they use it to their advantage, and they're not really hurt, you know what I mean? And the reality here is, I say it time and time again, if you're seriously hurt or injured, there's nothing the physio can do. I mean, they can come over, they can wrap you up. And the reality here is, if you get wrapped up, and you notice a lot of times players call for the physio for the illegal reasons. Now, if you get wrapped up by the physio, then let's assume that's an injury, right? Because the reality is, when you're wrapped up, that's going to limit your mobility. No athlete wants to be wrapped up during a match. Your mobility will be limited and hindered. That is a fact, and any athlete can tell you that. Now, you're definitely going to be in pain to ask to be wrapped up because, yes, the wrapping can minimize the pain. They can reduce the pain and make it, in some cases, especially if it's like a knee injury or tweak, which the reality is could be even a growing or a thigh or anything like that. It may isolate the pain so you can finish the match, but it's going to limit your mobility. And a lot of times, look, it might even be best to just retire from the match. But I say that to say this. So in terms of the rules of calling for the physio, the rule is no player should call for the physio in terms of receiving an edge for conditioning, right? So that, what does that mean, right? It's kind of vague, but in terms of conditioning, that means technically they should not be getting massages, which we see, them do that all the time. Anything that's related to fatigue, which how do you prove that, right? If they're calling for the physio, they're saying they're injured. But a lot of times when they're calling for the physio, it comes when they lose their momentum. They're either trying to avoid, losing a set or the match, or they just been broken. They never call for the physio when they're up or leading, right? Now, you saw the match I covered with Lucia Bronzetti against Lauren Davis, where I told you Lauren Davis was going to win that match outright as the underdog. I gave you that lock. Now, Lauren Davis was about to win the match, and Lucia Bronzetti literally collapsed and went down. So Lauren Davis had match point. She never got a chance to win that match because Lucia retired. Interesting, right? So the official rule is no player should call for the physio in relation to conditioning, right? To receive an edge for conditioning. Now, they do state that's in relation to fatigue or cramping. But we see all the time players now, they never say they're cramping because, that's against the rule. But we see all the time players get massages and things like that. Now, the reason why I bring that up is this actual injury here was a legitimate injury. She was leading in the match, up a set. Now, she was facing a break point, but the injury here shown was very nasty. She was going to return this shot deep in the corner, and she fell hard, and she screamed. She screamed loud. So we know this was a real injury, and definitely needed the physio attention. But what do you guys think? I mean, there's a lot of players, and I'm not going to bring up any names. I've already discussed this several times. It's the usual suspects, right? And the reality here is, I think they're breaking the rules. So they're calling for the physio because, and these players have stated in the past, look, their body is just not, they don't think their body is made for the grueling schedule of the tour. Now, these are actual words these players have said in the past. So we know that, look, they're calling for the physio because of conditioning. And that is the rule. The rule is you should not call for the physio because of lack of conditioning, cramping, tiredness, fatigue. But we notice it happens all the time. But nonetheless, the Colombian players, Camilo Osorio, Arango, they are super duper tough. And look, Arango has a tough match tomorrow. She plays, I think Podoroska. That's going to be a very tough match. And look, she definitely was injured. She got wrapped up and she was still limping, and she still pulled off the win here. Tomorrow, how's she going to feel when she wakes up? I imagine that's probably going to be a pretty close line. So stay tuned if you guys are interested in this tournament. Take a look at that. And we also have Laura Pagasi. She has a match here. So it's going to be the semifinals here in Colombia. But yeah, I watched this match here. Really super duper good match. Very entertaining. And what about Storm Sanders, now Storm Hunter? Look at the sky in the background. This was where is this? I forgot where this tournament it is. I forgot, but this is another 125K tournament, ITF tournament. And Storm Sanders, look, she was down a break early, and she was actually a huge favorite to start this match. But since she was down a break early, she was now the underdog to win the match. And of course, that was an easy lock. But look at the sky. Storm Sanders really brought the storm. And look, once she got warmed up, she would end up smoking her opponent in the first set. She would end up taking the second set. So there's a lot of good tennis out there, guys. Stay tuned. But the matches tomorrow are going to be amazing, right? In Thailand, we have Bianca Andreescu taking on Serenko. That's going to be a good match. And we have Lin Zhu taking on Wong. That's going to be a great match. And what about in France? We have Caroline Garcia, right? She's going to be taking on, and look, that's going to be a good match. Camilo Osorio from Colombia, right? And then we have Alicia Parks taking on Zanevska. So stay tuned, guys. This is good energy. But let me know, what do you think about the injury timeout? Should that rule be, it's a tough rule to enforce. We know that. But if players are repeatedly calling for the physio every single match, and literally, not every match, but every other match, and it's just like, take a look at someone like Anna Kalinskaya. So last year, literally every 4 to 5 matches, she would retire from a match due to a injury or something like that. Emma Raducanu is constantly calling for the physio. And look, Venus Williams recently did an interview, and she said something really, really interesting. So in case you don't know, Venus Williams had to withdraw from the Australian Open due to, she said it was like a growing or thigh injury, right? So she said she had to retire because she got an MRI and it showed a tear. And she said the reason she didn't call for the physio during that match is because she said, look, I'm a professional tennis player. I know that there's nothing the physio can do if I'm really injured. And I thought that was a good statement from a true professional and one of the all-time greats. Venus Williams said out of her mouth, if I am truly injured, there's nothing a physio will be able to do coming over to help me. That's exactly what she said. She said, there's nothing a physio can do. If I'm that injured, the chance I have two choices. I can continue playing on the injury and risk injuring it more or retire. And we see these players, they call for the physio time and time again. And me just being an athlete, it's like, are you kidding me? The physio, they can wrap you up, but that's going to hinder your movement. If you have a headache, they can actually give you pain medicine, which we've seen that done before. We've seen Rafael Nadal does that a lot. You know, he'll call for an Advil or something. They can spray you down or something. And technically, they're not supposed to be giving massages because that's due to cramping. It can be due to cramping, but again, they bend the rules all the time because depending on what the player says is wrong with them. But the rule, it's tough to enforce. I understand that, but it was just so refreshing to hear Venus Williams say, "Look, I've played so many matches. If I'm injured, there's nothing the physio is going to be able to do to help me. I have two choices. I can either continue playing or I can retire. There's no need for me calling the physio over." And it just felt refreshing to hear Venus Williams say that because I talk about this time and time again, and so many players, they call for the physio, and I personally think a lot of it is to gain an edge, right? Tennis is a sport about rhythm, timing, and momentum. And a lot of players do that to either they're losing and then they want sympathy from their fans or the crowd, or they want to ruin momentum. Now, the perfect match, Sloane Stephens taking on Anastasia Polychenkova. Remember that? That almost led to a fist fight on the court between those two. Sloane is like, "Are you kidding me?" Sloane, I forget the exact score, but it was bad. Sloane was up like 5-1 or something like that. She's getting ready to win the match. And Anastasia calls for the physio. She's like, "Are you kidding me? You're calling for the physio now? Like, what do you expect the physio to do?" And we've seen this time and time again. Victoria Azarenka was notorious for this back in the day. And then we look at the great players who never, ever call for the physio. And it's like they understand. And that's how I think a lot of times you can tell the integrity of a player. You know, they play through pain. They're never calling for the physio. But nonetheless, I'm rambling, guys. We have some great matches tomorrow. If you happen to listen to this, comment below. What do you think? Do you think the calling for the physio, do you think they need to like change that rule and force it? Do you think it's excessive? I don't know. Let me know what you think, guys. I'm gonna sign off. This is Good Energy, and see you guys soon.